Hi, I'm Steve Barlow. This is the Humanised Workforce Future You podcast video, where we're talking about perceptions of the future, issues that we need to be aware of, and their role in a rapidly changing work and life environment.
Hi, I'm Craig Saffin. The Humanised Workforce Future You podcast series is focused on the key factors evolving to create a more humanised workforce and how people from all walks of life are creating their future selves.
We're going to kick off today, Craig, with the big idea, the topic of optimism. So that's probably a good place to start for a new year of podcasting. I think what we should do is to start with sort of defining optimism and what we think it is and what people have said it is and how we see it.
I think for me, optimism is being able to solve problems and to see through difficulties, right? To see a way through. And I think that there's certain people, especially if we're talking about leaders, then people want to follow leaders who can solve problems and not necessarily be so down and in a dire situation. And we're all faced with dire situations. The pandemic's been a dire situation for many people, but in amongst it and risen out of it has been a lot of people who are optimistic and can see a way forward. What about you?
Yeah, look, I think that's a really good definition, seeing through difficulties and solving problems. I think that, a lot of common ideas that are probably misconceptions really about optimism. Some people think an optimism is someone who always hopes for the best, or someone who expects things to work out okay, or maybe even someone who sort of sees the glass half full rather than half empty. True optimism is someone very aware of the setbacks, roadblocks, and less than ideal situations. The caveat is that they see these setbacks as temporary and something that they've got the power to overcome, even if they don't know exactly how or when. So it's part of that problem-solving thing that you're talking about seeing through difficulties, seeing setbacks as something that are temporary things. They're not permanent roadblocks. They can be permanent roadblocks if you allow them to be. But if you see them as something to be overcome, then they're not going to stop you from getting where you want to get to. They're just obstacles along the journey that you've got to overcome. None of the things that don't work are failures. They're all information. We're getting knowledge about what doesn't work, which is valuable knowledge. And eventually we'll find knowledge that does work.
Well, we're trying to solve problems, right? So as an optimist, we're trying to solve problems. And as a result, you will make mistakes. But the most important thing is you're learning from them. And that's what an optimist can do. I think you're prepared to have a go, you try things and you stay calm and learn from the mistakes, I think. So.
Yeah. But this is the process of how you do that, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
It's the process. You don't have to know it all. You don't have to have, you don't just sit there and say, well, I'm a glass half full kind of person. I'm optimistic. No, it's based in a strategy. You're actually doing something that causes you to be optimism, that gives you grounds for it.
Yeah, I think the term is bounded optimism is one of the terms I read, and I think that's what you're describing, is that you have an optimism that you can justify. You're not just being, chirpy for the morning or something because you've had a couple of cups of coffee or something. You've actually got something behind you that can justify the fact that you're optimistic.
Well, do you think that that understanding of optimism is sort of commonly understood, or do you think people are a bit confused about what it means?
I think that in general, people are very smart and they can see through a veneer. So that if you're going to be standing up there and being chirpy, you better have some substance behind it, because people. One of the things I've always marveled at is that, modern democracies spend a lot of time educating people and getting them up to speed for the life. And then they don't necessarily treat them as very smart. And I think that's a critical mistake. If you're going to educate people and give them critical thinking capability, then you better be prepared to treat them appropriately. And I think that's where bounded optimism comes in, is that you have to actually have the substance and not just be up there, talking down to people or being paternalistic. I just want to change tack a little bit. And one thing about being optimistic is that I think you need to, and this is once again for leaders, but also for individuals, is that if you're going to be sharing your optimism, then you need to engage with the people that you're being optimistic with. And one of the things we've noticed in the pandemic, I think, has been a very big topic, is the way leaders or how much EQ leaders have, and also how much genuine compassion and acceptance of others they've been willing to show, because there has been that breaking down of the boundary between the professional life and the personal life, the kids in the meetings and the dogs walking across the back and all the other stuff that never used to happen.
Yeah.
So it requires a different type of leader, and that leader needs to be much more accepting and genuinely compassionate, not just asking how the weather is or something like that, and in the passing to get a discussion started. I wonder what you thought about that.
Well, I suppose it's what you said before about the people being able to see through the thin veneer. If it's not real, whether we're talking about optimism or compassion or caring, whatever it might happen to be, if it's not real, you're not going to fool anybody for too long, are you?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I mean, it has to be sustainable. You got to be genuine about it. You got to be able to, do it over a long period of time.
Sure.
And I think the other thing is the modeling aspect of it, that whether it be compassion or whether it be optimism, not only does it have to be genuine, but by being genuine and doing it well, you're modeling to other people how to do it and what it looks like, what it feels like. And people are learning from that sort of social interaction.
One of the things I've found is, this ability to lead remotely is proving very difficult for big and traditional companies. A lot of the business press and the finance sector, not the finance sector, but the financial pages and things like that, are talking about the need for people to come back to the office and things like that. But some of the younger companies or people led by younger leaders and are very happy with the remote. And I was talking to someone the other day, and they've just shut down all their physical office space, and now they're hiring. I think it's great because they can hire people from wherever and whenever, and I see it as a huge boon. So I think the traditional companies are struggling with this change still, and that's partly the leadership that's within. But the younger companies and more advanced companies, or smaller maybe, they've adjusted, and some of them will never go back to the office space, I think. So.
I mean, I think optimism has got to be based on the idea that problems are always going to come. Yeah. They might come in dramatic ways like earthquakes or pandemics, or they just come naturally.
Yes.
Sometimes they come because of what we're doing. What we're doing creates problems. Yeah. Sometimes they come from the environment outside of us. But whatever, we can learn, we can adapt, we can change. We can find new solutions, trial and error. We make mistakes, but we can be optimistic if we believe we can solve these problems.
Yep.
And we can see through the difficulties, as you said at the beginning. And that's the grounds, I think, for being optimistic. And that's how we can grow as individuals and how we can grow as organizations. And in a way, a good thing that's come out of the pandemic is that it's made people more aware, I think, of that very fact, that we do need to be flexible and look to solve problems.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching this video on Humanised Workforce Future You. Please leave a rating or review for the series on the medium where you source your videos.
The transcripts for today's video can be found on craigsafin.com. Please subscribe to the series to avoid missing out on future episodes.